Hey, let's talk about something that we love, / maybe nobody does anymore. Is Pulp Fiction still relevant? That is the question that I posed to you this week, so that is what we're going to talk about.
And there are a lot
now.
of caveats there.
There is so many caveats because Pulp Fiction is such a specific Pulp Fiction-y kind of movie. There's zeitgeist implications. There's film implications. There's collage implications. There's all kinds of stuff. But I do ask this question for a very specific reason. I have talked to a lot of young people in the last year or so, and I always ask them, because that's one of my favorite movies, do you have a feeling about this? Have you seen this? Blah, blah. And the more and more I get people that not only have never seen the movie, but don't even realize that it's a thing that exists, and that breaks my brain. So let's start there.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this because, we're getting older.
What?
And the stuff that meant a lot to us means nothing to young people, but that's kind of the way it goes, right? Unless it's the Beatles, in which case, like, every 15-year-old finds the Beatles and is like, or Zeppelin or something, they'll...
And they mean nothing to me. Stones.
What is with your ignorant ass today?
Rolling Stones over Beatles all day, every day. I'll wear a t-shirt.
Okay.
Yes.
We could have a whole episode arguing this where you're factually incorrect. Just in terms of the way they changed the format of the song, pop music, what it meant to be pop,
they made it worse.
How they recorded things. So you're just...
Yeah, they've just made music worse. Good job, Beatles.
That is your taste and not... like factual, okay?
But the Rolling Stones lived. What's up? Let's talk about Pulp Fiction.
You're so fucking dumb sometimes. Okay, so Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
One of the reasons why I don't think younger people care about it as much is because for them, their introduction to Tarantino was probably Kill Bill.
Yep.
Okay? And it's not like he's fallen off. Right? Like, every time he releases something, it's like, oh, is this the best thing he's ever made? Like,
yep. The last movie.
You could argue pretty much everything he's ever made is the best thing he's ever made. You could make an argument for, in my opinion, except for Reservoir Dogs. I think that's his weakest film, but it's also his first. Like, what are you going to do?
Have you seen Death Proof before?
Yeah, I have. And my opinion on it has changed a lot over the years. But most people were probably introduced to him through Kill Bill or maybe even Inglourious Bastards.
Sure.
Right? And they weren't there for the uprising. Because there are basically two moments in Hollywood history where independent people came out and took over Hollywood. The first one was in the 70s, and we talked about that in the last episode.
Sure.
Where you had all these film school kids come out in the late 60s, early 70s, and they changed everything. And then it happened again in the 90s when you had people like Robert Rodriguez, Paul Thomas Anderson, Tarantino,
Soderbergh.
Kevin Smith, Soderbergh. But Soderbergh didn't make movies... He's always made good movies, but he didn't make them that hit the cultural zeitgeist the way these other filmmakers did. Like Clerks.
You don't think that Sex, Lies, and Videotapes did? And you can tell me that it didn't, but in my mind it did.
No, not at all. Not at all. Because you didn't have a million people copying it for the next 20 years, right?
That's fair.
Every young filmmaker has tried to remake Clerks. Every young filmmaker has tried to remake either Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs, or every young filmmaker has tried to do their own El Mariachi, right? But these guys came out of virtually nowhere. Some of them didn't have any film school experience like Tarantino, and they made stuff that was cool, right? Mm-hmm. And they were able to blend style and substance.
I love that idea. Let's stop right there real quick. Let's talk about what's the idea of cool now? Like, does that even exist in the world? Like,
no.
A concept?
Cool doesn't exist. Now it's vibes. Right?
Yep.
Now you can actually kind of hear it in the popular music now, where you have what I call the pretty sad girl music, like the Olivia Rodrigo's, a lot of Taylor Swift, a lot of
Chappelle Roan,
Sabrina
baby.
Carpenter.
And this is all my music, by the way.
And a lot of Sabrina Carpenter, where it's just very, like, we have a vibe. And it doesn't build, it doesn't diminish, it's just a vibe. And that's just kind of where we are. But something that is snappy and cool, I even put Swingers on that list, right?
Sure.
Swingers is very cool.
Yeah.
But is there a cooler movie than Pulp Fiction? And I don't know if there is. I think it might be the coolest movie where you have cool characters and they're doing cool shit, And I still think that's the one that's going to be on his tombstone.
Yes.
Even though I don't think it's his best movie, but it's his most Tarantino movie. And that's the one that spawned a gazillion imitators. Like, I don't know which one spawned more imitators. Pulp Fiction or The Matrix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
I don't think you could have The Matrix without Pulp Fiction because it made the whole, we've got sunglasses and guns and everything's cool.
Right.
I don't think you could have had Matrix without Pulp Fiction. And then you add to it the discussions about nothing, which was very 90s. Like, that was everywhere. And you start off the movie with the Royale and cheese.
Sure. I do want to make sure that we give John Woo a shout out because if we're talking about cool movies, John Woo throwing up doves when there's a shootout going on, that's always the coolest thing ever.
But the thing is, he didn't make his U.S. debut really until after Pulp Fiction.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%, yeah.
So, again, Pulp Fiction, even though it ripped from a lot of Hong Kong cinema and a lot of Japanese cinema, because that's what he does. He takes his influences, wears them on his sleeve, and makes it his own. And because of him, he was able to bring in a lot of those elements into American cinema. Kind of like The Matrix paved the way for Crouching Tiger to win Best Picture, a year later or whatever.
I
or
never
get nominated.
Watched the movie. Never seen it.
You never seen Crouching Tiger? That's a shame. It's really good.
No, probably not.
It's really good. You don't like good stuff. I came to realize this. I was driving the other day and I was thinking about your taste in movies.
Yes, please.
And I realized you basically like two movies.
Yeah.
They're like crime movies and then stuff that like no one's ever seen.
I thought you were going to tell me specific movies on those.
No. You like if it's not in one of these two very specific genres, you don't.
Yes.
You're like not for me.
Yes, because those are the only two good genres.
Jesus Christ. You're like someone who's like, I don't listen to country music. There's never been good country music. No, yes, there has.
Well,
yes, there
of course
has.
Yes.
I don't care what genre anything is, as long as it's good. But anyway, I think
yes,
like the whole Tarantino cool, where like they're about to go into Jackrabbit Slims and she does the square thing, and then he draws it on frame,
even though it's a rectangle.
I can't see what you're holding to it because I got the B cam.
Oh, it's okay. I'm holding up the menu from Jackrabbit Slims.
You know what's funny about that? The whole $5 milkshake thing?
Yes.
Because if you go to like a Studio Movie Grill, a milkshake is now like $13.
$70, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like $5 milkshake. Oh, what? Only a $5 milkshake? Please.
Yeah, give me that value. No kidding. Yeah, so I think a lot of it, we talked a little bit about that, but, it's after a while, you rarely know the originator. You only know the imitators. Like, you only know the things that happened after that. So I'm sure a lot of people know so many of the movies that Pulp Fiction made, but they just don't know that originator. And that's kind of the same thing with Tarantino's work. Most people don't know the things that originated these things. I guarantee you I haven't seen 20% of the movies that he references in Pulp Fiction myself. Most people I haven't seen 90% of them, And
like, I'd love to see you watch everything that influenced Kill Bill.
I've seen
there's
a lot of
mountain of stuff in Kill Bill. A mountain.
Yeah, but if you watch Lady Snowblood, that's like freaking 80% of the movie. No offense or anything, but it really is. I was really kind of surprised. Hey, how about this? Does it, just in general, do you think that it still works as a crime movie? Do you think you could sell people on it as a crime movie?
I Okay, so whenever someone says like, could this come out now? It's a really tough question because we live in a world where it is going to seem like pastiche or cliche because there have been so many imitators for the last 30 years. Because someone's going to go, you mean like someone younger, maybe in their 30s, will go, you mean like Boondock Saints?
If they said that, I'm gonna punch them in the face.
Right, but that might have been their introduction to it. Like my
Well,
sister.
you're idiots if that was your introduction.
Well, no,
Go
it's
ahead,
just
sorry.
it's an age thing.
Oh,
right?
well, it was just a terrible movie. Get out of here. Take that,
Yeah,
Napoleon Dynamite,
but-
and get out of here. Ruin
but a
movies.
lot of
Ruin
people-
independent cinema, those two.
But a lot of people who are younger, that's what they were exposed to, right? So I don't know if it could work now simply because there have been so many imitators. You know, I think it still works. I think it's still cool, but it definitely feels older, you know, even compared to his own movies. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think the key is making sure the people who see it at the right age before they see other stuff that, you know, ripped it off.
That's all fair, but I just look at it specifically through the guise of you take all the fancy dialogue and all the other kind of stuff out, right? You take it as Butch is supposed to take a dive, doesn't take a dive, now they got to go find him, right? In that sense, do you think that that could be a successful crime movie now? Or is the talking the entire part of the movie?
But that's not what the movie's about. The movies are about the characters. It's more of a hangout movie than a narrative-driven movie. The narrative is just, it's literally off in the background. So much so that one of the main characters you're first introduced to is killed while sitting on the toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know? Because we've stopped caring about his story at that point. We are an outside observer jumping in at different points in the story. And what we care about are the characters and their interaction. Like, we don't see Butch not take the dive. We don't see the fight at all because it's not about that.
Yep, I agree. This was something that, as I was putting this thing together, I am kind of curious, and I spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I don't know if I came to a good answer. But what is the message of Pulp Fiction?
It doesn't have one. I don't think every movie has to have a message.
No,
I think it's called Pulp Fiction for a reason. It is this kind of story. He wanted to tell something that he wanted to see, and he wanted to basically tell a pulpy story in a really cool way. Because if it were about a certain message, or if it were about the plot, we wouldn't have had the scene at Jackrabbit Slim's, because it doesn't need to be there and it takes up 10 minutes. What is important are the characters.
Right.
And that's who he cares about. It's why his dialogue is so interesting. If he was just worried about the plot, again, all of that, like, we wouldn't be there for the Royale with cheese. We just see these guys driving up, getting the shotguns out, you know.
It would be weird. It'd be a weird normal movie, huh?
And we find out what's in the case.
Right.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, it so doesn't matter, and making it not matter is what has made everyone obsessed with what's in it. But it really, there's no, like, if you find out what's in it, does it change the story at all? No.
Nope.
All you know is that this guy wants that. He was supposed to have it, and now these guys are going to die because of it. And even that is just to further Jules's character and have him go, whoa, what am I doing with my life? I'm gonna morally change.
Yep.
The plot, instead of the characters serving the plot, here the plot just serves the characters.
Just does that. Yep. And that's the amazing ability of that. You know, one more thing before we actually nerd out on the movie itself. The cultural impact of something like Pulp Fiction is something that you have to know the history of, right? The little things. We've talked before about John Travolta dancing, how important that was because of his history with that. Or even the bad run that Bruce Willis was on before we was in this movie And if he's not on that bad run, there's no way he's in this movie, right? And so all those pieces of the history of the film, again, that's why I love movies. That's why I love cinema, because it's all about all the things that are going on. This confluence of things that comes together that makes this brilliant piece of art.
Well, if you see his original casting sheet,
oh boy.
Yeah,
dude, hit me with a couple of those.
Well, my point is, it almost doesn't matter because there's no one else who could have delivered that monologue to Tim Roth the way Sam Jackson does, especially at that point in his career. This is before, isn't it like the year before?
You're talking crazy, because Lawrence Fishburne, alternative, absolutely 1,000% could have done that.
No, he does not have that terrifying grit that Sam Jackson has. Because can you imagine him delivering the line, "Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell"? You can't.
Yeah, because I think about Lawrence Fishburne's early movies, and that's what I think. I don't think about the Lawrence Fishburne of the now. I think about those things, and he definitely
No. I know what you're saying. I don't think you would have gotten the same performance, and it would have been as impactful. I think, and especially, there's a level of cool that's incredibly important that you have to have, and just the tone of the voice. Like when you hear in Do the Right Thing him telling people to calm down and be cool, you can basically hear that as Jules, right? And I've never seen anything where Lawrence Fishburne would have given that same kind of performance.
King of New York.
That's why they're different, right? And I don't like it. Everything seemed to just kind of move into place, so these people got what are probably the best roles they've ever had.
Deep cover would be my argument for Lawrence Fishburne. How about you're not even telling me that you would not have been interested in Daniel Day-Lewis in this flick?
No.
That'd have been so weird, but fascinating. And I'm glad it didn't happen. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not arguing for either one of these. Sam Jackson was perfect, excellent, perfect. But Lawrence Fishburne would have brought his own thing to there. Not so much Daniel Day-Lewis. That'd have been super weird.
Was he supposed to be Vega?
He'd have been Travolta, yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing. This movie is so rooted in 70s culture, who the fuck else are you going to get than John Travolta?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like, everything in this is perfect. Amanda Plummer kills it. Tim Roth. Like, every single... Like, Eric Stoltz kills it. The only thing that maybe I could have changed out would be him. But for someone like, I don't know, Gary Oldman.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd prefer...
But then you just have True Romance.
Yeah, exactly. But also, I'd like... You did not suggest that Bruce Willis's girlfriend should be replaced, and she absolutely should be replaced. I know what she's in the movie. I understand
I like her a lot.
Was she pregnant? I argue that
if she did, she didn't know.
And I'm completely fine with that. But she had a lot of weird pregnancy tendencies. I'm going to tell you, if I have watched Pulp Fiction once, I've watched it 83 billion times. So I know everything about the movie that is. So you know what? Quiz me. Give me a question.
First, I want to ask, have you seen... Because I've only seen this uploaded to YouTube years ago.
Yes.
And they uploaded it in 1080p, which was amazing. Have you seen the chronological cut?
I have. It's weird. I mean, it's cool. It's fascinating.
I actually think in a lot of ways it works better.
Oh, no. Can't do that. Can't ride with you on that one.
Here's why I think that. I think,
yes, please.
I think that they both work perfectly for what they are, right? And for someone who wants something that's more straightforward in terms of the story, that's the one you watch, the chronological one. But I love the fact that the opening scene to that isn't like a random diner scene that you come back to, an hour and a half later.
Right.
It's the watch. And that kind of sets up the whole movie perfectly. And then, he grabs the watch from him and then it cuts to the title card, right?
Yep.
I actually really like that cut. I really dig it. And I wish there was a way to watch it legally, because it's not the one that I would prefer, I think, but I think it is a very cromulent cut.
Oh, well, fanciful to you. I am fascinated.
Oh, that's not a real word. That's a Simpsons word.
The life of a cinematographer is one of weirdness and strange films.
Yeah.
Cinematographer for this movie, I'm not going to pronounce his name, Mr. Sekula, also shot in the same year of 1994, Sleep With Me, Across the Moon, and Oleana. Tell me about all those movies right now. Go.
I've never seen any of those.
Not even a one, right?
But see, okay, but that's the thing. Like, he was coming off of an indie hit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what I think a more like if you're going to talk about like the life of a cinematographer, I think someone like Dean Cundey is really more interesting because you have a guy who did like the Back to the Futures and he did Jurassic Park, and all of a sudden he went from that to like Flubber and then Jack and Jill, and you're like, huh? Like you did The Thing. Like it kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But for Pulp Fiction, it's he hadn't found his muse yet with his cinematographer.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so then you have to wonder if all of his movies kind of look the same. Is it the cinematographer? How much of it is just him knowing exactly what he wants? I don't know.
You imagine that he pretty well has always known that. I mean, the ability to watch all the movies that he did early on at the video store just gave him a leg up on other people. I mean, we talked about the availability earlier about stuff. He could see everything because he was at the video store. And not only was he at a video store, he was at a video store that worked so hard to find all the greatest films, all the most random films, those kind of things. So he had that advantage. But, other people were put in that position and they didn't take advantage of it. So, it's still about Tarantino and what he's doing.
Yeah, he has I don't know. He has to be on the spectrum, right? He has to. I think he just he processes information differently than most people.
Yep.
Especially with the fact that I worked at a video store and I couldn't tell you everything that was in it, but this guy knew like the back of the boxes of every tape in the store. This is a person who like that's all he's taking in. It's impressive. It's
best scene in the movie or your favorite?
That's tough.
Yeah, almost impossible.
I think I have to say the scene where they confront Brad.
Oh, yes.
Just because I love the delivery of "look at the big brain on Brad."
Yeah. Yep.
That, and it goes from tension to they're fucked, like that. Just this is where Sam Jackson is nice. He's affable. He's like, no, where'd you get it? McDonald's, Burger King,
Mm-hmm.
And he's just and you're like, no, he's not really nice. What's going on? And the I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing. And you're like, oh, okay.
And still my favorite line in there may be the random flock of seagulls comment.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God, that's so much. Yeah.
But I don't know, because the movie's kind of infinitely quotable. So like, which is your favorite scene? Because like, part of me wants to say not Marcellus, but Ms. Wallace.
Oh,
yes. Dancing to "Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon." Like just something like that, because it tells you a lot about her character.
Yep.
Or him trying to keep himself from getting attracted to her while he's in the bathroom and talking to himself. And that leads to one of my favorite theories that a friend of mine said back in college, where this guy's entire life passes him by while he's in the bathroom.
It absolutely does.
Yeah, it completely does.
Yep. I agree completely. I would say, Travolta dancing is still, all those things with Travolta's history of dancing don't really mean anything, but I understand what it took to be in that position and what that says in the history of movies that he was doing that. I love Tarantino talking about the explanation of the dance. I love that, just the simplistic, stupid, simple Batman dance that Travolta did is one of the most iconic things in movie history, and that just always is so much fun to me.
I'm a big fan of weird little stuff that actors do. And the way he takes his shoes off has stuck in my brain since the moment I saw it, because it's not just like taking them off. Like, he very gingerly takes them off.
He does.
Sets them down one at a time. Where it's not like he keeps one in his hand, then takes the other, or takes them off with his feet. It's very precise, and you're like, oh, this guy's kind of methodical in a way that we're not used to seeing.
Yep.
But then, like, I don't know. I kind of love the scene with the wolf. And then, like, Julia Sweeney shows up for a scene, which makes no sense.
Yep.
I don't know. I really don't know what... it might be the scene with Brad, though. Like, that's
tough. I am curious. One more thing before we go. Who wins the movie? My asking this means, like, who, after this movie was over, do you think made the biggest impact?
Sam Jackson.
It is Sam Jackson for you.
Sam Jackson.
That's
no,
fair.
he is officially the most bankable actor of all time. His movies have made something like $4 billion.
Insanity.
5. More than that, because he's in all the Avengers movies, right?
Yes.
He's one of the most prolific actors of all time. And I love the way he decides projects, where he says, if I like the title, I'll do it. And I love the fact that he kind of plays into how people see him, but also he'll do something like the RoboCop remake, where he plays a right-wing television host.
Yep.
And I think he kills it in that. He's in Kill Bill for far too little time for me, but the little part that he's in, I love it. And without Pulp Fiction, we wouldn't have him in Django Unchained, and his character in Django Unchained is top 5 most despicable characters in any movie ever.
OAT of all time, baby. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I will argue, though, that in one of the coolest movies of all time, the coolest character is Harvey Keitel's The Wolf. There are human beings in my life that I think about as the Wolf. I think about just his whole everything. He's wearing a tuxedo at 8 o'clock in the morning. He's doing his thing.
Well,
the
isn't
Wolf shows up.
Okay, so when you first see him, isn't he at a funeral home?
No, it's a charity event.
Is it a charity event?
I've always thought of it as it's an event of some kind, but I've always thought of it as a charity
to me,
event.
it looked like he was at a funeral home, and like he was a funeral home director.
That would be so good. Oh my God, that would be so good.
But I don't know. That's just how I've always read it. But the thing is, we don't know. And
we don't know.
Because it doesn't matter. All that you know is that there's a fixer.
Yep.
Yep.
The greatest fixer of all time. All right, friends, we have reached the end of another Perfect Matt Men episode. Matter of fact, I have been told that Mary Lou Retton once accidentally was looking for something else and found our podcast and said, you know what? That's not for me, and stopped listening. But that's okay, because at one point in time, Mary Lou was a friend of ours. Matt, let me ask you, at the end of this episode, as I always do on each episode, what should the people watch in this week ahead that you recommend to them that you think will melt their mind, blow their mind, or you know what? Just have a good 2 hours watching a movie.
If you haven't seen it yet, Maxine just came out on digital. So watch Maxine. It is a lot of fun. Also, Hulu they just got Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Ooh, very nice. Very
Hey,
nice.
how many other franchises have like 10 or 11 movies and only like one of them are bad?
Not a lot of them. Except Fast and Furious, of course. Let me just give you 2 for the road today. The Big Easy.
I thought you were going to say 2 for the road, because I love 2 for the road.
No, that's a good one. No, this is. I picked up the Big Easy at a garage sale for 75 cents, and that is the greatest 75 cents that I've ever spent in a garage sale. This classic with Dennis Quaid and Ellen Barkin. Fantastic. So there's your 1. Number 2, how about go back and watch Presumed Innocent? Jake Gyllenhaal just made the TV show, which was actually the best Apple show I've seen by like a million miles. But the original with Harrison Ford, also fantastic as well. It is streaming right now, I believe, on Amazon. I would
Then you need to
that
watch
'cause
the
I had a lot of
Silo.
fun. What's that?
You need to watch the Apple show Silo.
I don't know. I think that I've watched my one Apple show for the century, and that may be it for me. Presumed Innocent is fantastic. Harrison Ford is sexy as always, and he didn't murder that lady. But boy, if he did, they had a pullback shot with him towards the end of the movie. It was not the ending, but it should have been. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. But the ending was pretty cool too. I would have done a 2-shot push him, but nobody's asking me. Anyways, Presumed Innocent.
So,
Harrison Ford.
okay,
Yes.
I just realized the main difference between the two of us.
All right, hit me.
I will give something a fair shot. You go ahead and shoot it down because of the genre before giving it a fair shot.
Tell me the last thing I shot down.
Silo, like 3 seconds ago.
Oh, yeah, I did that. Anything else before we go?
No, see ya.